The Matt and Crank program on Delmarva's Rock Radio, 93.5 The Beach.
721, Delmarva's Rock Radio, 93.5 The Beach. Time for my cousin Adam. It's our legal segment we do every Friday. Adam, how are you?
Great. How you guys doing?
Very good, very good. Are you surviving the heat wave? I was worried about you. I was concerned maybe you had died of heat stroke.
Oh, really? Wow. You were thinking about me
all week, man. I've been so worried.
Just chatting my ear off. He'd be calling me 3 or 4 times a day. Is Adam okay? I mean, I know the streets of New York City. There's so much asphalt. I can only imagine what he's going through right now.
Are you drinking plenty of fluids? Making sure you spend plenty of time in air conditioning?
Wow, I'm very touched. Yes, I have been actually. It does get pretty hot up here with the, especially when you go down into the subway. It's just kind of like
Ugh, what's that smell like?
A little heat dungeon. The smell isn't actually that bad, but I think that's just because I don't notice the subway smell anymore.
Yeah, because you're accustomed to it. Can I just say, though, as far as the heat goes, and I don't mean to be a hypocrite, because a couple days ago I did post on Facebook a photo of our inside thermostat to show that it was 80 degrees inside the studio. But that was to show everyone, because 80 degrees inside your building, an office-type building, it's pretty abnormal, I think, in modern-day society when we have things like air conditioning. So I posted that because that was sort of an abnormal thing that maybe you weren't aware. So just to illustrate it. But this thing that everyone does now of when it's hot out or when it's really cold out, they take a picture on their BlackBerry, their iPod, or their iPhone of the thermostat in their car showing the outside temperature and post it on Facebook. I don't get it.
It sounds like just watching the weather.
Number one, you have the status saying it's hot out when we're all pretty much aware of that. And then you illustrate that fact with the thermostat in your car. Which I don't know if that's a move just to brag about the fact that you have a phone that can do that or that you have a car that has that function. I don't know.
Yes.
Well, I think that just kind of goes along with this whole thing that everybody or a lot of people do on Facebook or Twitter is just put up things that nobody else really cares about.
Oh, you're in New York, and I hate to bring this topic up, but so how's the wiener situation up there?
I don't know. I get most of my news from the Daily Show, which is about all the news that I have time to watch. So whatever they've covered it a lot on there, but I mean, people up here are just kind of generally disgusted with the whole situation. I mean, it's just another politician.
Is there a little bit
who can't control himself?
Is there a little bit of pride though, because everyone has commented on the fact that he was given. If you looked at him, he was relatively well endowed for a man of his size.
Yeah.
So is there any pride in that as a New Yorker?
I guess the New York Jewish community is probably pretty proud.
As well they should be.
Yeah.
As well they should be.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Literally.
Yeah. All right. Now, I am going to go ahead and warn the haters out there that, yes, the word shall come up, but this is not a story about abortion. So here we go. A New Mexico man's decision to lash out with a billboard ad saying his ex-girlfriend had an abortion against his wishes has touched off a legal debate over free speech and privacy rights. The sign shows 35-year-old Greg Fultz holding an outline of an infant, and the text reads, "This would have been a picture of my 2-month-old baby if the mother had decided not to kill our child." Fultz's ex-girlfriend has taken him to court for harassment and violation of privacy. A domestic court official has recommended that the billboard be removed. Fultz's attorney, Todd Holmes, argues that the order violates his client's free speech rights. Quote, "As distasteful and offensive as the sign may be to some, for over 200 years in this country, the First Amendment protects distasteful and offensive speech." The woman's lawyer said she has not discussed the pregnancy with her client, and whether the client had a miscarriage or an abortion is not the point. The central issue is the client's privacy and the fact that the billboard has caused severe emotional distress. Quote, "Nobody is stopping him from talking about father's rights, but a person can't invade someone's private life." So for his part, the attorney here for the man says that the U.S. Supreme Court decision earlier this year on the Westboro Baptist Church, which is known for its anti-gay protests at military funerals and other high-profile events, says he believes that the court's decision allows protests, as hurtful as they may be, is grounds for his client to have the abortion billboard up. Very unpopular speech can be offensive, but that is protected speech. And I pretty much have to agree with the guy's attorney here. This seems very obvious to me. So why is this even a court case at all?
Well, it's a court case at all because it's a hot-button issue and something that's in the public eye. So somebody is going to make us think about it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're right. I agree with the guy's attorney that Westboro Baptist case is pretty instructive on what you can and can't do as far as somebody's privacy rights versus the First Amendment. The big thing here is that the woman's name, photograph, or anything like that wasn't mentioned in the ad. The other big thing here is this guy is doing this not as a personal attack,
right,
but as discussion on a public issue.
Right. And that's why I think this is obviously free speech. We've had a lot of conversations in the past about, freedom of speech versus freedom of expression. And this is obviously free speech. I mean, it's a message in sentence form, for God's sake. And I don't understand why someone's not allowed to put a sentence that they stand behind up on a billboard out of his own pocket. He put his face up there, but like you said, he doesn't mention the mother specifically. It just simply says the mother. It doesn't, I don't even know the chick's name. It's not like it says Nancy Jones killed my baby. It just says if the mother had made a different decision, this is the way my life would be. And it does. It raises a debate. It invokes thought in your own mind, which is exactly what speech is supposed to do. So is there any case for her? I mean, because no one would know who she is if she didn't make a national stink over this thing. She didn't take it to court. Only like 15 people would know who this woman even is and who the billboard's talking about.
Yeah, the one thing that does help her a little bit is that the father made some sort of company or not-for-profit that allegedly sponsored the ad, and the acronym for it was NINA, which is her name. So
that's a coincidence.
Yeah, exactly. But really, what I would argue if I was him is that, well, yeah, sure, it was inspired by her. I mean, of course you can't deny that. But the fact that the acronym up there doesn't let people know who it's about. It's not like the acronym is Nina Smith or whatever her last name is.
Well, hang on. But where my question is, I don't see this as so much a free speech issue as a privacy. I do see it as a privacy issue in the sense that this is a good time for us to clarify what this bullcrap notion of a right to privacy is in the first place. First of all, obviously there's nothing in the Constitution at all that even slightly mentions anything about privacy. I understand that there's court precedent when the court invented this notion, and it kind of is fitting that this comes up again around abortion because they invented, at least my understanding is, they invented this notion right around Roe v. Wade in order to justify Roe v. Wade. It's an entirely invented notion. It's ridiculous to say that you have a right to privacy, especially when we're social animals. Everything, yes, you have if you're thinking something or you have a feeling, you do, I suppose we could say, have a right to not express it. So in that sense, you have a right to the privacy of your own thoughts. However, every action that we take is by nature a public action. Anything we do that involves somebody else, you get an abortion, it involves your boyfriend, it probably involves your family, you're told. You go to the abortion clinic. I mean, it's a public action. To say that you have a right to do these things and but everyone else that you did them around or that you interacted through doing it would be infringing on your rights to talk about it is ridiculous. Where did this concept come from? Explain to me how anyone with any semblance of intelligence can say that we have a right to privacy. Where does this come from, Adam? Tell me now.
Well, I unfortunately haven't researched the right to privacy enough to give you a historical background of exactly where it comes from. I'm sure you could ask Justice Scalia or somebody about that. In any event, there is a right to privacy. The problem is that the right to free speech trumps it in many cases.
Right.
And because that's an enumerated right, it's right there in the Constitution, we want to give it a little more protection. Now, I mean, I don't necessarily agree that with you that the right to privacy is the worst thing in the world. There are certain things that should be private, and you do have rights to your name, your likeness, and things like that.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying that
but it shouldn't trump free speech. Free speech is paramount.
I know, but I'm saying that, and I understand that there's things like doctor-patient privilege, therapist-patient privilege, lawyer-client privilege. I understand that. That's not a privacy issue. That's you need those things in place in order for those institutions to hold up. But what I am saying is that even in the simple case of if I'm just a regular dude, okay, and someone says or does something around me, why shouldn't I be able to say exactly what they said or did? What is this thing that they did it around me? They did it to me. They said it to me.
To clarify this, he has a right to privacy as well, but he doesn't have to, I guess, express that right to privacy. He doesn't have to stay silent. He doesn't have to. He can go public with his own internal thoughts, I guess is the point here. And she never told him what happened to the pregnancy, whether it was aborted or miscarried. So I don't feel like he has to hold back anything. So he could stay private with his thoughts, but he decided to go public with his thoughts. So by her telling him that he can't express these thoughts almost violates his right to privacy, whether he chooses to use that right or not.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and the thing is, you have a right to your name and likeness, but he's not using that here. Just because there's a reference to the mother of this aborted child isn't a name or likeness infringement. So yeah, because this is also his experience that he can use this. I think we talked about this in this Chris Fox lawsuit a couple weeks ago, where the ex-girlfriend of Chris Fox was going to go on Basketball Wives, and he sued her for using his name and likeness. And I said, well, it's her story. Just because Chris Bosch is involved and his name is going to come up doesn't deprive her from talking about her experiences with Chris Bosch. And it's the same thing here. Just because this guy's girlfriend's name doesn't come up, just because this is part of this guy's experience doesn't mean that he's, can't use other people involved in that experience and telling others about it, especially when it's an issue of public concern like that. And that's the big point here, it's the issue of public concern.
And I think that also essential, in my opinion anyway, my personal opinion, this right to privacy thing is nonsense, and it's not in the Constitution anywhere. But that's not an opinion, that's a fact. But really, for me, with this kind of thing, it comes down to, is it true? And if in fact it was not true that his girlfriend really didn't get an abortion, then you have the potential for something slanderous and libelous. But if it's true, if it's just a fact, we're allowed to say facts in America. I mean, that's the essence of free speech. You're telling me that now you're not allowed to, I mean, if free speech protects anything, it should certainly at least protect our right to say true facts, no matter what those facts are, as long as it's not classified information in the government, or it's not classified information between a doctor and a patient, or a lawyer and a client. If it doesn't fall into one of those categories, or priest and a clergyman or something, if it doesn't fall into one of those categories, we can say whatever the hell we want. I don't see this right to privacy is just dumb. But Adam Calvert, thanks a lot, my cousin Adam. Lively debate as always, my friend.
All right, thank you guys. Take care.
See you later. And there's also the side issue, but not so side issue of what recourse does a guy have when a woman aborts his child without consulting him?
That's his entire point for putting this billboard up, is where my rights were violated. I didn't have a choice in this. You talk about pro-choice, pro-life. This is a pro-choice issue, actually, because he didn't have a choice in the situation, and half of that's his.
7:35 on the Matt and Craig program. We got Saliva coming up next.
Delmarva's Rock Radio, 93.5 The Beach.